she's excused. Alrighty, I will call the May 12th Licensing, Hearings, and Public Safety Committee to agenda. I'll do roll call. Alder Heidemann? Here. Alder Lefebvre? Here. Alder Borst? Here. Yep. Alrighty, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alrighty, seeing as we have a new committee member, we'll do a quick intro. I am Alder Rust. I am chair for this committee, and then we'll just go down starting with Alder Lefebvre.
I'm Alder Lefebvre. I'm the vice chair of the Licensing and Public Safety Committee. I'm also a member of the Finance and Personnel Committee, and I'm also a representative from the Council on the Redevelopment Authority for the City of Sheboygan.
I'm Susie Bors. I am a new council member representing District 5. I'm also a member of the Public Works Committee.
Alderman Heidemann, 10th District on law and licensing.
And then we'll have our presenters come up and they can introduce themselves as they come. Alrighty, item number 5, I'm looking for approval minutes from the April 9th meeting. Second. Second. All right, all in favor of approving those minutes, please state aye. Aye. Chair votes aye, those are approved. All right, item number 6, presentation to the committee by the City Attorney's Office relating to the duties of the committee.
Testing?
Yep.
Great. Hi there. My name is Assistant City Attorney Audrey Kratz. I'm representing the City Attorney's Office today for the committee. So at the first committee meeting of the year, normally what happens is that the City Attorney's Office will impart some knowledge and knowledge on what the general duties of the committee are, licensing in general, etc. Just so committee members can understand what's going on. I know most of you have already been on the committee, so you're pretty well prepped about what's going on, but technically this is a new committee, so that's why we're doing this today. So the general duties of the committee are generally for licensing matters, any matters deemed related to public safety with few exceptions, the police department, fire department, building inspection department, and the city attorney's office report to this committee as their quote home committee, meaning you'll see quarterly and annual reports for those departments. Further, this committee hears all quasi-judicial hearings. Most of those will relate to licensing, but can also deal with other issues like dangerous dogs, etc. The committee also deals with things that are changes to the code of ordinances that aren't specifically related to public works, finance, or human resources. Since I said this committee generally deals with licensing, I've got some info for you on licensing in general here. There are several types of licenses that the city may grant to persons and businesses. These licenses may include beverage operator or bartender licenses, alcohol licenses in general, mobile homes, salvage and recycling. Basically, there's a lot of licenses that the city may grant. Among those licenses, this committee will hear and have the opportunity to recommend action on applications for alcohol, which can be Class A, Class B, and Class C, change of agent, change of premise, and cigarette and tobacco. The city clerk has the authority by ordinance to grant all other licenses. So generally, there are 3 types of alcohol licenses that the committee will hear about. That's Class A, Class B, and Class C. Class A is like retail licenses in grocery stores and liquor sales at like actual liquor stores for off-premise consumption. Class B is can be both on and off if it's a beer license, but Class B liquor licenses is what we traditionally think of as like a bar. And then Class C is for wine. Change of agent applications are for when a license holder wants to change the person who's basically in charge of making sure that the business follows the law relating to the license. Change of premise can be either temporary or permanent, and that means that a business with an alcohol license is requesting to just change where they can serve and keep alcohol on site. There is an LHPS staff committee comprised of at least one member of the following departments: city attorney, clerk, and police. And at this meeting, the city staff discuss all license applications and reasons why licenses should be granted or not, subject to Wisconsin statutes and city ordinances. When a license or application comes before this committee, either myself or Attorney Liz Majerus will explain what the application is for, if there are any legal reasons as to why the license or application may or may not be granted. And then, based on that, it'll be the committee's decision to make a recommendation to the council. I've attached more in-depth explanations of everything I've just stated at the end of these recommendations. It's a separate packet I've given you if you'd like to research that or look at that any further. Also, this committee will deal with Class B liquor licensing quotas. So state law requires the city to set a quota or a maximum amount of Class B liquor licenses for bars, basically. And when one or more of that type of license becomes available, this committee will hold presentations by persons or businesses who are interested in getting one of those licenses. After the presentation, the committee will then be able to grant the opportunity for that person or business to apply for a Class B liquor license. When those presentation happens, I will give you a more in-depth presentation then. Wrapping up, if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. And if you know in the future, if you know ahead of time, if you're going to have a question about anything that's on an agenda, if you could ask ahead of time, that way I can research to the best of my ability. If not, I'm happy to answer questions at the time of the hearing.
Thank you, Attorney Kratz. Alder Heidemann.
Thank you, Chair. We have all these licensing requirements. When somebody goes and they want to sell, and is it CBC or whatever, where you have these stores that are selling cannabis, or like, who licensed them, or how do they get a license? If it's not under our control, so that you could have any place that wanted to sell that product.
I believe they would have to get a cigarette and tobacco, but I'm not.
That's under that license?
I believe so. You may know better than me.
Hi. No, they would not qualify for a cigarette or tobacco unless they're selling nicotine-based products. I believe that CBD products are licensed and regulated by the state of Wisconsin only.
Okay.
So that's where they would be licensed.
Okay, I was just kind of wondering why that never, I don't know why it just popped in my head. I don't know why we never had a license to give out so that we know who's establishing those or where they're actually being at, so we don't have a concentration of those licensed areas, businesses in one area. So, right,
yeah, so we do regulate the nature of business based upon zoning. So there would not be incompatible uses within a certain zoning district. For example, we wouldn't necessarily want a CBD shop right next to a daycare center or something like that. But if you're looking for additional opportunities for city involvement, that's something that we could explore and get back to you on.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Yep.
Thank you, Alder Heidemann. Any other questions, comments? All right, seeing none, thank you, Attorney Kratz. Alrighty, and then item number 7, adoption of the policies and procedures of the Licensing, Hearings, and Public Safety Committee. So we'll just be voting on the rules. So I'll just need a motion on that. All right, all in favor? Chair votes aye, those are approved. All right, item number 8, RO number 5-25-26 by Police Chief Kurt Zempel, pursuant to section 30-50 of the Municipal Code, submitting the quarterly report for the Police Department for the period from January 1st, 2025 to March 31st, 2025. Chief?
Thank you very much. So just a few things to highlight. I would just in general say that things remain very safe and things are going well. We have seen an uptick in crimes against person over the last year and a half or so. Most of that is driven by domestic related assaults or intimate partner violence, which is one of the toughest categories of crime for us as a police department to impact and prevent. We do have some ideas that we would like to work with some of the other agencies and service providers in the county to implement this year, but it takes takes quite a bit of coordination, I think, for us to get those things off the ground. But this year so far, those are trending at least back in the right direction for us, with aggravated assault in particular. We had kind of a rash of retail thefts and a couple of more serious property crimes. And so the property crimes are up slightly so far this year, but all remain on path for maintaining our historic lows. We are really very, very low in property crime, especially, and have been for several years. We also see a pretty significant reduction in vehicle crashes. Everybody remembers what a mild winter it was, and so obviously that helps. But we've also been doing more, I think, to coordinate already this year some of our targeted traffic enforcement, where we're doing high visibility enforcement and education initiatives. You may have seen a news article about it recently where we were telling people that we were going to be out and doing traffic enforcement in a particular area. Even though the radio station just picked up on it, that's not a new thing for us. We've been announcing those kinds of things for some time because we believe that it's important to help to sort of expand the effect of those efforts by letting people know that we're paying attention and expect safe driving in our community. And so traffic crashes have stayed low. We also continue to see the benefits from our co-responder program, where our involuntary mental health commitments are even lower so far this year than they were last year. So, and I think that's it as far as highlights. If there's anything else that you'd like me to address or any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions? Alder Heidemann.
Thank you, Chair. In this report I guess, do we see any type of an increase because we're now establishing more apartment houses and complexes like that we have in the city? Is there any indicator that says, we're getting more calls because we have all these people living in one area? Or is that significant at all? Or we get just as many calls everywhere else as we do any type of an apartment house?
Yes, I think the second part of what you said is what I would say, is that we're not seeing increases in types of crime related to apartment complexes. Certain apartment complexes we've had some issues at, but it tends to kind of move around. And so we have been getting good cooperation from the management of those properties to deal with issues as they come up. And so it's consistent with our strategy to really hold property owners accountable for what's going on at their property with our authority under the ordinance for chronic nuisance properties and things like that, that really has allowed us to, I think, minimize some of the impact of that when properties or when certain apartments do have issues, that we're able to hold the management of it accountable.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, any other? Alder Boers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Could you please speak a little bit to the co-responder program with Elevate and how that functions and how determinations are made about whether or not it should be a police matter versus something that could be handled by those responders?
Yep. So right now our model is that we have co-responders that are assigned to work with officers. So they're in a squad car with an officer, and they're basically providing coverage from about 10 in the morning until 2 in the morning every day. And that's an initiative that Sheboygan County has contracted with Elevate to provide the staff for that. And so right now a police officer is responding along with the co-responder. And so at this point anyway, the model is not to try to deflect calls that come in that may be just a mental health call that a non-sworn person could respond to. We're responding together with them. And so right now, they're really both dispatch, the supervisors, and the cops on the road are kind of identifying the calls that would be good for a co-responder to be a part of and be a part of that response. And they are going and offering resources. They have training in motivational interviewing and things like that to kind of help people take advantage of the resources that are available and then getting them connected to it. And I think as a result, we're just seeing much better outcomes where we're able to intervene much sooner in the cycle where people might be sort of escalating behavior or getting into crisis that would necessitate the emergency detention because they're a risk to themselves or others, that because resources are getting engaged more on the front end, that we're not seeing as many people really reach that point.
Okay, Thank you, Chief Sumter.
Yep. All right, Alder LaFave.
Okay, so how I understand what you're saying, because there's many in the community that want to see in certain areas of our city an increase in density. You are not stating that an increase in density causes any increase in crime, correct?
I think it depends on what the increase looks like and what the characteristics are. Certainly, certain types of developments are going to, and just simply having people close together creates some issues. But I don't think that that's categorically true. I think one of the advantages is that we've been a part of development discussions and talked about, from a crime prevention standpoint, making sure that that there's responsible development happening, that it's consistent with prevention practices, there's good lighting, there's security cameras, things like that. We're all part of that discussion, and so I think that allows us to avoid what might inherently be true just about more density.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? All right.
Could I just add, if you don't mind, I wanted to just extend a little bit on Audrey's comments about the role of the committee when it comes to licensing. And so obviously we are part of making recommendations to certain types of licenses and whether they should be granted or not. And I just wanted to maybe highlight why it is that you as a committee and as a council have the authority that you have when it comes to certain types of businesses, and why the state gives you the authority and ordinance gives you the authority to license them and to maybe deny licenses or hold them accountable when there are problems. Certain types of businesses create problems, right, for the community, especially when they're not managed well. And it doesn't have to be true, but we certainly have seen examples of businesses where, when there aren't good management practices and there isn't accountability for that the community suffers as a result, and the neighborhoods where they are located suffer. And so we feel very strongly that that you all need to really consider what type of community and what types of businesses and how they're managed in our neighborhoods, and that you consider the impact that they have. And so we certainly will help to inform you, and when there are issues, help provide you with information and examples so that you can make a good decision about when those circumstances come up. But just wanted to reinforce that we really feel very strongly that that's important, and that we certainly can't have a free-for-all, right? Our community standards matter.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chief. We are filing. All right. I'm looking for a motion to read and file this. All in favor? Aye. Chair votes aye. That's read and filed. Item number 9, RO number 2-25-26 by Fire Chief Eric Montiano, pursuant to Section 24-459 of the Municipal Code, submitting the quarterly report showing the benchmark measurements for the fire department for the period commencing January 1st, 2025 and ending March 31st, 2025. Chief?
Thank you, Chair. So you should have in front of you the report and a couple of the highlights. We are about 137 incidents higher than we were at this time in 2024. We are starting our fire inspection full throttle here. We've actually been at it for about 2 months now, so you'll have more data when that starts getting closer to being closed. The school programs, as you know, we usually hit that in the fall, so you won't see, I just want to make sure you all understand that you'll see that as a 0 until the fall. And as we continue, for those of you that were on the committee last year and previously, we are continuing to refine our RMS system, our recording management software. So it is allowing us to track our training better. So at this point, we are about 700 hours higher than we were last year, which is a great thing, and we'll continue to build that up as we go. Another thing that I wanted to point out, and you'll hear me always talk about overlapping incidents. If you recall last year, we ended up with, about 70-some percentage, I don't have it in front of me, but 77% overlapping, and the year before was about 66. So we are currently at about 80%, 88% overlapping, but that's not an average. That's just the first quarter, which comes out to roughly about 1,500 incidents, which is right on track from where we were last year. So maybe we'll end up in that 70% range, but yeah, I'll be glad to answer any questions if anybody has them.
Any questions for the chief? Alder Lefebvre.
Okay, as always, I want to make sure that our wonderful fire department is completely staffed or is staffed sufficiently for the purposes that are needed. If there's any increase in need, I would definitely have that brought to the committee.
No, absolutely. I appreciate you asking, Alder Lefebvre. And currently, we are staffed adequately at the minimum staffing. We were granted 3 members last year, so we really appreciate that. That allowed us to put that 4th frontline ambulance in service. So that is running 24/7. But as our call volume, I've said this before, as our call volume continues to increase, if the city expands and continues to grow, which is a phenomenal, great thing, eventually we will, just because of the amount of calls we have. But currently we are at minimum, which we're functioning. So I appreciate you asking, but we definitely will if we need.
Bring it to us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Lefebvre. Any other questions? All right, I'm looking for a motion to read and file this one.
Motion to file. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That is filed. Item number 10, RC number 296-24-25 by Licensing, Hearings, and Public Safety Committee, to whom was referred RO number 126-24-25 by City Clerk submitting various license applications. Class B Reserve Liquor License number 3679. City Attorney? Oh, sorry.
We're great. No problem. So this was referred from the last committee only because the application was incomplete through no fault of the applicant. So now that the application is complete, I can confirm there are no issues with the application and it may be granted.
Any questions? Seeing none, I'm looking for a motion.
Motion.
For what?
To approve.
To approve, yes. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That's approved. Item number 11, RO number 9-25-26 by City Clerk submitting various license applications.
So there are 4 applications on this RO. The first is a change of agent for the Marcus Cinemas over on the east or west side of the city. There's no issues with that application. It may be granted. The second 2 are change of premises for Susha's Bar. They're just going to be including their parking lot area, of which they have ownership over, so there are no issues with that. And then the last is a Class B liquor license for Bamboo Breeze, and there are no issues with that application. So all may be granted.
All right. Any questions? All right. Looking for a motion.
Motion to accept. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Those are approved. Our next meeting date will be May 27th, 2025. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We're adjourned at 4:53. Thank you, everybody.